Day one of the Tauck tour begins when everyone gets to the Hilton Hotel, located about a mile from the airport. Well, the hotel is nicely located on a lagoon. Other than strolling around the lagoon and watching planes take off and land, there's really not a lot to do until the 6 o'clock get-together meeting. This is my first view of Havana. This is the presidential palace where Batista was in 1957 when the revolution began. These are actual bullet holes from the attack on the palace. And this balcony is where Castro spoke to the Cubans for the first time in 1959 with this view. This is the Cubans' mirror room with the top tour guests gathered around our guide Leo. I can't tell you how hot and humid it is here in Batista's office. No breeze and sweaty hot. This is Batista's famous gold phone, which is really a phone. Here is one of Che Guevara's famous sayings: you have to be insane to be in love. Day two ends with our welcome dinner at Tauck. Off to see Cuban art. We are traveling with 24 people on our tour. The buses themselves are modern buses from China, very well air conditioned, no problems there. Very comfortable with a bathroom. And it is hot and humid as always here in Havana this morning. This art is by an artist called Fuster. Jose Fuster at work. This original fountain only cost $50 US, but they won't let you import it back to the US. Fuster has gone on to decorate most of the neighborhood that he lives in. Another fountain. So the question is, are there lots of vintage American 50s and 60s cars driving along the streets? The answer is yes, there are lots of vintage cars. And the drinks there, about a penny. None of these cars are original. They've all been totally rebuilt with handmade metal parts. There are not many sand beaches in Havana, but this is one of the nicest here at Club Havana. And we have music at many meals, like this jazz ensemble. But no one's smoking cigars. They're far too expensive to buy here in Cuba. The average person. Now we proceed into the museum for a surprise. Before a paella dinner, which will end day 3 of the tour. We are heading to a paella restaurant through a restaurant row. Wow, it's hard to believe I'm actually in Havana, Cuba. Havana is the largest city in the Caribbean. Dinner here at Restaurant La Paella. The best restaurants in Havana can say that Castro ate here instead of George Washington slept here. And the music does not end. We carry on to dinner. We begin
take a look over there in the back.
Fourth day in Cuba with a look at a taxi stand. Havana in the 50s used to be known as the jewel of the Caribbean because it was the wealthiest city in the Caribbean, and no longer. There are lots of vintage American cars on the streets. And besides taxis, this is the transportation option of the people. This is the main lobby of the Hotel Nacional, which was Cuba's #1 hotel in the 50s before Castro. This is the view of Havana Bay from the hotel. There's a road between here and the Stone Beach. Now we visit a local market where the Cubans go to buy fruit and meat for pesos. This is a state market where the prices are in pesos, 25 to the dollar. No rationing, ration books. These mangoes are 3 pesos a kilo, which makes them almost free. These pineapples are 40 cents each, 10 pesos. Ice cream bar, 20 cents.
Hey, Mike.
We are having lunch at La Casa Español, a state-owned restaurant. Looking at the Cuban healthcare system polyclinics. These are very much like our PACMed and healthcare HMOs, where you see the doctor and then go to the hospital if you need more care. Nursing is 5 years, and doctors have 6 years, and the stripes mean she's the boss nurse, head nurse here. All medical care in Cuba is free. And there's no crowd of people waiting to get into this clinic, though we are out in the boonies of Managua. And this is the physical therapy room. This is the standard toilet that I've seen in Cuba. No toilet seat. So with a look at the entrance to the emergency area, in summary, no air conditioning, worn, somewhat clean, and now we head back to the hotel. The Tauck tour stays at the Melia Havana, a Spanish chain hotel. The hotel is located in the Miramar district, about 20 minutes from downtown Havana, but since you're going to rarely be in the hotel on this tour, it really doesn't matter, and the hotel is extremely nice. So I see the Cubans have given our hotel 5 stars, and it is the second best hotel in Havana, but Travelocity gives it 4.5 stars. The Malia Havana has incredibly large swimming areas. This is just a fraction of their pools, 5 of them. And the traditional swim-up bar area. The evening of the 4th day, we are off to a paladar, a private restaurant. It's illegal for a tourist guide to take guests to a paladar, so we have to walk 5 blocks to get there. So we are having dinner at the La Malia, which would be located inside a private home. Through the garden. Paradores are limited to 50 people at a time by law. The employees of a paradores are chosen by the owner, but are paid by the state. I guess the owner pays the state and the state pays them. It's day 5, our Friday of our tour. That is the Russian embassy. Every morning we have a breakfast buffet up here on the 9th floor in the VIP area. And I am taking the day off today.
Señores, canto feliz a la tierra más bonita. Se vieron ojos humanos desde la misma conquista. No es fácil de describir, tendida sobre la mar. No hay duda en mi cocodrilo que lo adorna un gran palmar. No hay duda en mi cocodrilo que lo adorna un gran palmar.
Here's a nice Ford convertible taking off along the waterfront. It's off to Hemingway's hotel. And there is where books are sold on this square. This is the oldest castle in the city, built by the Spanish, but poorly positioned, so abandoned for office space. This is the father of the homeland who freed the slaves in Cuba in the 1860s. You could buy 4 slaves for a horse back in the 1860s. Now we go into Hemingway's hotel, Ambros Mundos. Past the bar he would have been sitting at, then up the elevator that Hemingway would have taken to his room. Hemingway's bed with a view.
This is the room where...
And on the top floor of the hotel with the view of the fort, we have music. This is Cathedral Square in the restored part of downtown Old Havana. And this is what the interior of this cathedral, built in the 1700s, looks like. So we walked the required 5 blocks in the hot sun without a tree in sight to get to our lunch place, obviously a paladar. Every place we go, we get a house cocktail. The conchacha is made with honey grown here, are harvested here at this restaurant, and is honey and rum and is excellent. And the typical Cuban toilet without the seat. This is Ernest Hemingway's farmhouse that he bought in 1940, and lived until he died of suicide in 1962. Shortly after his death, his wife, his fourth wife, turned the house over to the government, looking into their living area. Looking at the dining room, Hemingway's dining room, the motto of Cuba today is, "It is what it is." The swimming pool, Hemingway's boat, his monument. This is the beach at Calamar, where the British landed in the 1700s to take Havana. This is the famous picture of Hemingway with Fidel. Fidel won the top prize for catching the largest marlin. Neither of Fidel had never gone fishing before, and Hemingway only met Fidel one time, this time. We are at Hemingway's favorite bar in Calamar. This picture shows where the boat was anchored, but we were not allowed to take a picture of the fort because it is an important Coast Guard installation. Instant jail if you take a picture of it. Tonight, day 6 for dinner, we're eating at the best rotisserie chicken restaurant in Havana, El Ajibe, the Well. The big story in Cuba are the Havana 5 who are currently in jail in the United States. Are they spies? Or are they trying to tell the U.S. government what's going on with the Southern Floridian exiles? The Tropicana show began in 1939, the oldest continuous show perhaps in the world. Another very hot day, maybe the hottest of the trip, day 7, and we are standing on Revolutionary Square. The only people out are stupid tourists, and that is the Monument of Victory. Opposite the Tower of Victory, or Death as the locals say, we have 2 government buildings. The first one is of the famous leader that was with Fidel, who said, "You're doing okay, Fidel," in Spanish. And at the other end of the square, a Ministry of the Interior with Che Guevara on the front of the building. We look at Christopher Columbus Cemetery, founded in 1871. Christopher Columbus is not buried here, however. The owners of the crystal beer that I drink every day are buried here. About 42 people a week are still buried in this cemetery. The good news is the Cuban government picks up the cost of funerals. They're free. Everything from the plot of land to the actual burial to the casket. As we look at the shroud covering the obelisk, the bad news about being buried here is, after 2 years, your grave is dug up by the government and you are put into a small 1 foot by 1 foot box and put in a crypt for the rest of your days. The tallest monument in the cemetery is of 30 firemen who died in 1890 trying to put out a fire in a munitions factory. The free ceremony in the chapel lasts for 5 minutes by law. Our tour ends with a walk to the most famous grave at the cemetery. Who will it be? So the most famous grave is of Amelia, not yet a saint, but perhaps in time. We are now going to take a walking tour through a slum of Havana, and it's not really a slum, but it's where the poor people live. This is a community of murals, like that one right there. This is a sign by Che Guevara that says, "Promise less, do more." And taking pictures in the hot sun.
There isn't any flat, as beautiful as mine. I know you like it, you live in my island. I mix en tu con tu mano, toma nuestras manos y rea poesía, lo que hago aquí todo lo.
A 5-block Baton Death March walk to our lunch at Cafe Oriental. Hot and crowded. A chicken place with prices in coots and pesos. Beggars, students, salespeople. It's a blend of all. Chance to buy the different colors of license plates. People in line to get cards for their cell phone. And there are girls for sale. Barber shops. Clothes dripping water on you as you pass underneath them, hanging from balconies. This is the fried bread. As a surprise, we're taking convertibles to dinner. To go to dinner, we're taking a 1955 Chevrolet Bel Air convertible. Everything in it is original, including the piece on the hood piece. So I'm too big to fit into the Chevrolet, so I'm going to the restaurant in a 52 Cadillac convertible Cavalier with an original hood ornament. Let's see, the car will go 165 miles an hour, and it only has 37,000 miles on it. Actually, the car has 2,037,000 miles on it. Driving to the restaurant. Going into town, Old Havana. Gas stations, food stands, coming to a traffic stop, nightclub, and defend socialism signs and other propaganda everywhere. Typical houses. Beautiful old colonnades. The final dinner at Hotel Sevilla. It certainly looks pretty, and that's where we're going to be going, to the top. At every dinner, we're greeted by music and drinks like mojitos. The only thing missing at any of these restaurants is air conditioning. There is none. But the view from on the 9th floor of the Hotel Sevilla is incredible. I could be imprisoned by taking this picture. We will see. At last, a decent view of the presidential palace and housing in front of us. And as is typical of how housing in Cuba, there are clothes being hung out from all balconies. With the sun setting on our last night here in Havana, Cuba, it's probably time to bring this video to a close. Havana and Cuba itself are very interesting places to visit. And I definitely enjoyed this trip, seeing a land frozen in time, about to thaw big time. The people are paid peanuts, but the motto of the Cuban people are, the government pretends to pay us and we pretend to work. And with that, I declare this video complete.